Like if I were like after every single episode, like read theories and stuff, then people smarter than me would give away everything
Yeah.
But you know
by
what? Like
accident.
the binge model doesn't necessarily work for coming up with theories
It
because you
doesn't.
want
No.
it doesn't. You want to get right to the next episode right away and you have almost no time to process it. Like even just when me and Ben sat down to chat for 3 or 4 episodes in a row,
Hmm.
I the episodes were so blended that I couldn't remember what happened in either one, two, or three.
And
Whereas
like trying not to spoil stuff for like upcoming episodes because they're like, oh, was it the fourth one? Was it the third one? It is tough when you're watching it all back to back to back because like
Yeah.
something that are there week to week, like after the episode, like I'll sit and I'll think about it and I'll come up with my own theories and then like maybe I'll jump on Reddit and read the forums about it, see what other people are talking about. So it gives you more time to do that. Whereas if you're watching it all at once, it doesn't, yeah, it doesn't afford you that luxury.
But I
yeah,
think sometimes they go a little overboard. Like Apple TV, some of their shows, like Lessons in Chemistry, does not need to be a weekly show. Or like The
It
Marvelous
does.
Mrs. Maisel does not need to be a weekly show.
It
Or
depends. It does depend on
Hacks.
the show.
Like,
Yeah, like there's like I feel like event television, like Game of Thrones, House of the
yeah,
Dragon, stuff like that. That's like a big
that works
cultural
better.
thing. It works better week to week, but there's some stuff like the second season of Invincible that took like 8 episodes over the course of like a year, and there was a 2 week or 2 year gap in between. I'm like that did not need to
Yeah, I
go.
think I just waited until all eight came out, and I heard after
So
that
so did I.
the
Yeah.
whole gap like made people is sort of I don't know. Now they're doing a three-part thing with Cobra Kai. I think Netflix has gone a little too because they did two parts with Stranger Things, and I don't watch Bridgerton or You, but they also did that with those seasons. It's a little
It's
overboard
I,
sometimes.
I get it from a business perspective because
Oh
it keeps
yeah,
your subscriber
yeah.
base on longer, right? And now like Amazon Prime has ads, so it's more time for them to have ads in each episode. And
start with a few characters. Favorite character from the season?
Wow.
I really like Sister Sage. Like in
I
terms of
was
like
gonna
a
say
new character,
Sage.
Sister Sage was fantastic. Like from the actress's performance to the actual character herself and the way she's always like you can always kind of see the gears turning and she's always scheming and she's always, not just one but several steps ahead. I really enjoyed her presence in this season.
Love Sage as well. I think there's because compared to like she's very much a Homelander enabler, but compared to someone from a past season like Stormfront, there isn't that same evil for her. It's more of like a lust for validation. When we learn like the stories that she tells about her past and her being a black woman and all, it's more of just she wants to be able to make a difference because she's so smart. She wants her intelligence to be noticed and not just for powerful, wealthy men to shut her down for what she is, which is the smartest person in the world. So I think the fact that Homelander notices this, I feel like she cares less if people get hurt because she finally has this platform to change things because she's smart. And I love how not afraid of him she is. Like someone said, I think like they made like the Stan Edgar comparison. They're just willing to roast him or make him feel inferior in the conversation. And she knows that like he needs her, so he can't laser her if she damages his ego.
What I like that like she also sees all of this, and now that she does have this platform to kind of show how intelligent she is, it's like a real challenge for her. And I think they touch on that throughout the season. Is like her life outside of this is just so like stagnant and boring, and her giving herself the lobotomies to make bring her down to other people's level. It's very just a very fascinating character overall.
I actually feared her more as the season went on because earlier in the season when she didn't really want to join the seven, she gave off the impression that she didn't really care. But I think it's just because she was her talents were being underutilized, and but when she actually joined the seven, that's when I started fearing her a little bit, and fearing that what her capabilities are because she started working almost like a chess master and not really caring about the average citizen and caring more about the fact that she's able to do certain things without really caring about people and the consequences of her actions, and she's doing it just for the fact that she can, and that makes her a very fearful character moving forward, especially going into season 5 or yeah 5.
And I
No,
think
yeah.
compared to Firecracker, which we see how it's so easy to push her buttons, or even Sage tells her like the only way for Firecracker to really make herself useful is to appease Homelander, to uh, you know, stroke his ego. Sage doesn't need to do that. Sage is calculated, right? She's not easily moved. Like you said, so she's a lot more a terrifying sort of threat because, like you said, she's playing the chess pieces.
Yeah, I mean, she's all about the long game, right? And I like how they play it off throughout the season. And it seems like she's messing certain parts of her plan up. But then once we kind of see how everything eventually comes together, it's like, oh no, she knew exactly what she was doing every step of the way. And Homelander and some of the others doubted her when it seemed like her plan was failing.
Yeah, for me, I think this season of this seven was the most well-rounded in terms of character growth. Um, especially like characters like Black Noir, who hasn't really had any screen time. Had a lot of character development. A Train as well had a ton of character development. So I think this season here of the seven is probably the best utilized for sure, in my opinion.
A lot more focusing on each individual member, whereas I feel like it's kind of been the Homelander show, and they were just they're supporting players, but you get a lot more of each of them this season, which I really liked. I loved what they did with A Train, who's been we talked about this when we talked about the first few episodes. He's been very like kind of stagnant character development the last
Mhm.
couple seasons, so it's nice to see him have an arc this season. And like you said, what they did with Black Noir was, I mean, absolutely hilarious. The character turn from past seasons to like how we see him here. But just everything, like even the Deep was given a lot more to do. He felt a lot, no pun intended, but he felt a lot deeper as a character, rather than just like the comedic relief.
I'm gonna be honest. I mean, this goes for almost every season, but I did kind of hate some of the things with the Deep. I think they spent a little too long with him and I think Ambrosius is the name, the octopus that
Yeah,
he's in love with. It just there's a side of it that's self-aware, but then there's a side of it that just spends too long. There's a scene in episode 7 where, spoilers, he kills her and he's just sitting there in like anger and shame for like what feels like 2 whole minutes of screen time, just him sitting with a closed door. I just felt like sometimes the Deep gets a little too much of his own plot because unlike what we see in A Train, the Deep isn't really searching for or earning any sort of redemption. On the side of A Train, I feel like, uh, no pun intended, he was sort of running himself into a wall for 3 seasons of, saying that he wants to make a difference, but then destroying everything that he cares about, whether it was first his girlfriend, his reputation, then, losing contact with his family. Um, so here I think Jesse T. Usher in his acting in episode 7, where he sees that kid smile at him and he says, like, that gave me more than Vought ever gave me. That was
Yeah.
probably the best acting we've seen from him the whole show. And it was finally this moment where we no longer saw him as this uh, pitiful, self destructive, unbreakable pattern. So it was really deep, even though it wasn't the deep.
I don't know. I have to disagree with you saying that's the best acting we've seen from him this season. What about Training A Train with Will Ferrell? Right,
Yeah,
that
true.
was an Oscar worthy
Yeah.
performance.
I smell an Oscar nomination.
That's
oh,
gotta be like, I mean, this show's had some good cameos and stuff before, but that had to be one of my favorites. I like when the show's just able to
Uh-huh.
like have dumb fun and like poke fun at Hollywood like that. I enjoyed that.
that's kind of like the big battle for the episode. Um, I was kind of I was kind of let down that we didn't have a Homelander, kind of finale, but we had a big Homelander finale last season, so I think they wanted to just kind of change things up. What did you guys think of that fight with the shapeshifter himself? What did you guys think of that character?
I thought it was cool. Like I think I'm on the same page as you. Is like it felt like there could have been something bigger and more exciting. Like I feel like this whole season overall felt very safe. Like we've talked about this before, how it does feel very much like a bridge season for setting up season 5. And
Mhm.
I never felt like certain characters were in danger during those moments, right? It's become a show that like it's like, okay, well, I know this person's safe. I know this person's not, they're too big a character to be killed off. So I feel like that took some of the tension out of it. But it was a cool little fight. It was a cool little moment in the bunker where they're kind of figuring everything out before all hell breaks loose. So I thought it was all right.
Yeah, Gal, what about you?
I do agree with you as a season finale, as a final battle to culminate the season. I was also underwhelmed because each season has ended on a big climax so far. It's never been sort of anticlimactic in the final episode, and each season has sort of like gone up in terms of like the big final battle until we had the season 3 finale where all the characters are there together, and Soldier Boy was there. So I think it would have been nice if we at least saw one of the riots, which would have also made it stronger as to why Homelander is being like assigned by the person who the speaker who later gets instated as the president, as to why he now needs to like send out an army of soups to put down the riots. It would have maybe been cool to see like the assassination attempt plus one of the riots, like put half the characters here, half the characters there. I do
Mm-hmm.
think I didn't love all the stuff with the shapeshifter. Um, Aaron Moriarty did a great job acting very unsettling, even though there was a weird lack of closure because they quote got engaged and then Annie got mad at Huey, but we didn't really see where that goes. Maybe I'm just a big shipper, but I was like, okay, like he proposed to you. Do you want to marry him or not? I just really wanted to find that
Yeah,
out.
it kind of
Yeah,
felt
yeah.
like forced relationship drama where there didn't need to be. She's like, you didn't pay enough attention. Like I was gone for so and so amount of time, and like that wasn't me, and you didn't notice. And then she's mad at him. It's like, oh, he's asking you to marry him. I don't know. It felt like very forced into that part of the season. There's enough going on this season that we didn't really need that tension. But on the other hand, I did like that it does get resolved pretty quickly afterwards. I think both of them kind of come to their senses and they understand what the situation was, and going forward in the next season, I think they're in a good place now.
Literally everything that went wrong this season was with him. He had to go through his dad dying. He was trapped in Tech Knight's
Oh God, that whole Tech Knight thing
cellar.
that was brutal.
Like every they put him through so much this season. Like they could have, I feel like they could have spread some of the drama around, but literally everything was on him this season.
That's the thing. I think what we saw in episode 4 specifically is Huey is the one taking charge in terms of forgiveness. Everyone holds grudges against each other the whole show, even Huey from episode 1 against A Train and Vought. And he learns that it's actually strong to forgive, that it's good for yourself to forgive. And I think that also helps him even in the most devastating moment of his life when he has to say goodbye to his hero, his dad. So I think that's why they made him go through so much, is because he's also the one who's finally sort of kept his integrity intact, especially after we saw him go through a darker path in season 3 and then come through at the end. Like he did have an arc there.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I agree with what both of you are saying. I do think that with season 5 being announced as the last, I feel like they're trying to cram in a lot of character development, not for just Huey, but for everybody this season. And that's what felt to me, this made the season feel the most disjointed, right? Is like they're like, oh
Mm-hmm.
man, we have next season is the last one. We need to make sure to take these eight episodes and set everything we need to up and put all of these characters where we need them to be, like emotionally, mentally, physically within the story. And in that, a lot of the plot did kind of take a backseat to doing what they needed to do with the characters.
I think that's something that like the show has always suffered a little bit of, even when I'm loving it. There's a few too many subplots. Like, I'm sorry I keep bashing on the deep, but I feel like we spent a little too long with the Church of the Collective in whichever season that was. Like sometimes supporting characters are just supporting characters. Even Kimiko and Frenchie, their dynamic is cute, but I don't think even Frenchie, his whole like turning himself in and then he comes back. I just felt like nothing came out of that.
This show has no idea what to do with Frenchie. And I think you're right. Some characters just need to be side characters. Every single season, they try to give him a backstory or a side story. It's like so just underbaked. It's so
Yeah,
like
there was Nina. There
half-hearted. It
was
comes it
yeah.
comes out of nowhere, and then it's like a couple episodes, and then it's just, oh, that's it. Okay, moving on.
Yeah.
There's no proper arc to him, and like I feel bad for him because I really like Tomer Capone, whatever the actor's name is. I like him
Mhm.
as the character. He's really good in that role. It's just they have no idea what to do with him.
It's funny as this like pitiful, uh, sad guy, which is the Deep. I just don't need to know all the relationship drama with him and his octopus.
Frenchie, I did feel that whole story arc was underwhelming for him. If he turned himself in and then they kept him out of the season,
Yeah,
that would have been
it was like what one episode that he was in jail,
yeah,
and then it's like, oh, I'm back.
yeah. They brought him back way too soon. Yeah, that was unnecessary in my opinion. I didn't
Yeah.
think it was needed. What about the rest of the team? Like again, we were talking about Kamiko. We got Mother's Milk. Mother's Milk became the lead of the team, on paper. And then Butcher, the story with Butcher and what's it called? His alter ego, in a
Oh
sense.
yeah, with Jeffrey Dean Morgan.
Yeah.
Joe
I
Kessler.
think I
Okay.
think of the boys, the team. I think Mother's Milk was probably the best written this season. Like, not that it was great, but like he felt like he had the most arc. Like he's trying to get out, and he keeps like kind of getting pulled back in a way. It felt like he was the only one that they really knew what to do with this season. Like Huey's stuff was good, but a lot of the other characters, like I mentioned before, it feels like they're setting them up. They've taken the season and they just are moving them from the end of season 3 to the beginning of season 5, and they just, especially Butcher. Butcher's story felt really drawn out because he's not really that much further than where we left him at the end of season 3, minus a couple of things.
What do you think the end goal with Butcher is going into next season?
And I don't think he always knows what he's doing at this point. He has the last bit of the virus and he wants to kill Homelander, but a lot of the time Butcher ends up messing up the plan throughout the season. So I think he's going to still be at odds with the boys when it comes to season 5, but we'll have to see if he finds some sort of redemption because I don't see Butcher or Homelander living at the end of the show.
No, I mean
That's for sure.
we've been building to this showdown, and we've seen them face off before to some degree, but we've been building to this big final showdown for almost the entire show. So I mean, I think that's coming, and I think you're right, Gal. I don't think either of them are making it out of it alive.
But also, let's talk about the big thing that he does, which is he actually makes Sage's plan work. Once Newman shows a bit of remorse and wants to leave the Homelander cult, he comes in and rips her in half, which
Yes.
I remember the whole tentacle thing being alluded to, but I think it was like could have been addressed a little more that he did take the V and that it had this impact on him. I sort of forgot about that until it happened.
Yeah, they had that one scene somewhere in the middle of the season where he blacks out in the trailer and it just wakes up and it's just that there's blood and body parts and stuff everywhere. So like it would definitely was alluded to. It was hinted at. We didn't see much of it, but that scene was pretty shocking.
Yeah, he took out the pasture.
Oh yeah, that's who it was.
Ezekiel,
Yeah.
Ezekiel.
Ezekiel.
Rip Newman, though.
Yeah.
Strong character. Claudia Dumit, excellent acting this whole season. Like just her
Yeah, she's
dilemma and also
fantastic.
her trying to take leadership because she's just very desperate to hold on to her power to cover for herself at this point, but she's just very unsure and stressed all the time. Also, Jack Quaid's real life girlfriend, I just learned.
Yeah, I didn't
Yes,
know that
yeah.
either. I only found that out recently too.
We know he he's always wanted to do whatever he wants. He just needs the validation for it. He just needs the legitimacy because he doesn't want to, do things and be himself, but then no one love him or everyone be disappointed in him. He needs that following, but now he also has the power to, keep, you know, killing the rioters who throw things at him or lead an army of soups who look to him as their general and so on. So he just keeps getting more and more of what he wants.
Yeah. So now he has the power of essentially the president on his side, and he's running Vought himself, basically with Sister Sage. Um, I mean, the door is open for many possibilities. Like we mentioned the fact that we didn't think the boys could survive this long, and you would think that Homelander would take them out at this point. What do you think the reason? Like, obviously, writing purposes, but there were many situations where Homelander was just like go to their office and take them out, and he could have done that at any point, basically.
I don't know that I can give the show that much credit. I think it is more of like a writing thing. Is like, okay, we've got this uber powerful being that could take them all out, but then you wouldn't have a show. There, like, if you dig deep enough, I'm sure that you could come up with reasons like why he hasn't done that. But I think it's more just a convenient plot device that like we can't. And that goes back to what I said before about like some of the show feels a little bit safe at this point because you are just moving the characters from point A to point B to set them up for the final season. Now, having said that, I think going into next year, I think we're going to see a lot of stuff go down. I think we're going to see some major character deaths because they know it's exciting. Any show that's going into its end game and they know they're going into the end game, it's like all bets are off. Anything could happen at this point.
What about Ryan? What do we think? Where do we think we're gonna see him in the next season? Because we quickly learned that he's very much his mother's son. He's disillusioned with all this Vought BS, all this humans are toys BS. But then, he leaves Butcher and Mallory once they want to take advantage of him as well.
Yeah, I mean, I think like he's being torn in a very difficult position. It's almost like it's like he's like a child of divorce between like his mother and his father at this point, between like
Between
Butcher and
Butcher and
Homelander. It's like
Homelander.
he sees things in each of them that he likes and admires, and like he also sees their flaws, but he's young, right? His mind is still being molded, and I think you've got two very problematic characters doing that. So he feels even more torn between like which side do I want to fall onto.
I feel like I'm gonna try to predict that um, he's not gonna play a major factor until like a final battle, and he's gonna try to pick a side. And I feel like the side that he's gonna pick will end up being Butcher's side. And he'll end up trying to put up a fight against Homelander, and Homelander's just going to kind of knock him out easily because he's not going to, from a power level stance, like, yes, he has power, but he's not going to be on a Homelander level as a child.
Yeah.
So physically, he's not going to be capable of taking on Homelander. So he won't really be much of an effect in a battle. He's just utilized as a writing tool to add more fuel to the Butcher Homelander drama.
So if you think about
Yeah.
it, like Ryan leaving Homelander's side, Homelander losing his son's approval could really push him over the edge moving forward.
It could. Yeah, it could.
I
Yeah.
think you're right, Stefano. I think it's going to be like a late game switch where like we see him now, like we thought he was with Butcher, and now he's obviously he feels wronged by them, so he's gone back, and I think it is going to be like a lot of next season where he's kind of back on Homelander's side for most of it, and then as we get into like that final showdown, I think it's going to be a last minute switch where he does try to do something,
Mhm.
maybe even injures Homelander or try like he's not going to be able to take him out. He doesn't have that kind of power, but I think it is going to be something that does come into play in that final showdown.
Will we get a Huey Annie wedding scene?
We got to answer it for all the stands out there.
Frenchie
Um,
Kimiko wedding scene. No.
yeah, maybe. Who
I
knows?
wonder. I wonder if there's a percentage out there of how many shows have a wedding in the series finale.
Oh, probably a lot.
It's got to be a lie.
It's
Yeah.
got to be up there.
Like
Not
even
even a
Ted
series finale. Like
Lasso.
it's very much a season finale kind of thing. Like
Yeah.
regardless of whatever
Yeah.
type of show it is, there's always
All the
there's
time.
never a wedding like beginning of the season or mid season. It's always like a big season finale, show stopping moment.
Yeah.
Yeah, whether it's like Modern Family or even Shrinking on Apple, like they always find a heartwarming emotion because it's an emotional high, you
Yeah,
know?
no.
Yeah.
It's a culmination of something, you
Except
know.
for when Game of Thrones did a wedding. I don't know if you're that far yet. How far are you in Game of Thrones?
I've seen the red wedding and I've
The
seen the
red wedding.
purple
Okay, that's what I
wedding.
was getting at. I was like, their wedding was
That
not
was
a
one
season
episode
finale.
before the finale.
It was far less happy.
That's funny.
Far less happy.
We could have a situation where there is a wedding, and then obviously something happens at the wedding too.
Yeah, I mean, leave it to this show to do something like it's all about shock value a lot of the time. Like, I don't think we've
Mhm.
had anything. We definitely didn't get anything this season that reached like Herogasm in season 3. But I could see them doing like a wedding and it turns into like a big bloody disaster. Like, leave it. If any show's gonna do that, it would be this one.
There was the whole Splinter thing in episode 2 where they walk in on him
Oh
doing
God,
something he
yeah,
should have saved for
multiple.
Herogasm.
That was yeah. I can still hear that slurping. We watched this
Yeah.
a month ago. I can still feel that you hear that
They run
slurping.
into. I just want to mention. I know y'all have already talked about episode 2, but Amazon. I'm gonna pat y'all on the back. Y'all are rich. Y'all are successful. Throwing in the marvelous Miss Maisel reference in there at the bat mitzvah. That's like patting themselves on the back like that. Honestly, they deserve it because that's a great show, and this is a great show. So
This
that
show
just made me laugh.
this show has so many amazing references to like it's very meta that way where it pokes fun at itself, it pokes fun at other shows. The whole thing with making fun of the Marvel universe, this with like their phase like 17 and 18,
Yeah,
with the reveals of movies like that. It's just so funny with some of the things that they come up with.
it's very
There's a
like it's very politically and socially and the satire is sharp. Even when it's a little bit on the nose, it's always entertaining. Like this season was a lot less subtle. Not that this show's ever been
yeah.
super subtle in what it's trying to say. It's very obvious, but it's always entertaining.
That's the thing. Like sometimes I'm like, if you say the exact same thing that someone said in real life, then it's less strong. Like Homelander doesn't repeat the same things Trump says. That's why the metaphor kind of works well. When Firecracker says Jewish space lasers, and it's like, oh, we know this person said it. Now they're just replicating it
Yeah.
again. I don't know. Like sometimes you could change it and the satire still works even better. But it's not like they said, oh, we have this movie, The Blind Side. It's called Training A Train.
Yeah.
Exactly, right? It's there, it's obvious enough that we're gonna get the reference, and that makes it funnier.
But I don't mind them copying the Kendall Jenner Coke or Pepsi commercial like shot for shot in season 3 because that was
Yeah.
amazing.
Did you guys have a favorite scene or highlight of the season for yourselves?
Oh, I not so much a scene, but the episode. I think it was episode 4 where Homelander goes back to the lab that he was
Mhm.
kind of raised in. Um, That I really enjoyed because watching Anthony Starr just really get to chew the scenery and like just be just this awful, despicable, like evil human being, but like it gives like a little bit of humanity to his character. Not enough to redeem him, but I really liked that episode. I really liked him interacting with and like bringing the cake. I really enjoyed that. That was probably my highlight of the season, I would say. Or the Vought on Ice was really good too.
But nice. Which I could have sworn I heard Andrew Rannell's voice in the Va on Ice singing part, and then I think only weeks later they revealed on some website that it really was him, and
Oh,
I was so delighted that they brought in even like it's not even like a close up on his face. Like he's a pretty popular actor. They just brought him to like skate around as fake Homelander. For me, the highlight, one of them at least, is Soup Farm, Soup Animals. I enjoyed that whole episode and that whole storyline so
The
much.
sheep.
Um, the Soup Sheep.
that's funny.
And I do feel like Starlight loses her temper violently a little too many times this season. Like she and Newman are kind of just walking, and then she just punches her after she's just like something that just like somewhat snarky. But besides that, I really enjoyed that whole search slash chase. That does seem terrifying to stare like a sheep in the eyes.
One scene that I'm thinking of, like fight scenes. I really like the Kamiko fight scene where Frenchie's on drugs and she has to take
Oh,
a look
with the
at
like bubbles and like
the
rubber
bubbles
ducks
and
or whatever is
ducks.
coming. Like, oh,
That
that was good. And then
reminded
it cuts
me,
back to like what's happening in reality,
yeah.
and it's just this bloody mess. And it cuts back to
Yeah.
what he's seeing, and it's just bright,
Mhm.
cartoony, filled with music. That was really good too.
That reminded me so much of the Suicide Squad and the scene with Harley
Yes,
Yes.
Quinn at the
yeah,
prison break, and in the
yeah,
best way.
Yeah.
yes.
The showrunner has a thing with making puppets. So the
Even in
puppet
Gen V,
episode,
yeah.
they did it in Gen V. He also did it in Supernatural a couple of times. So that's something that he obviously likes doing. So when he makes caricature puppets, that scene made me laugh as well.
Susan Hayward like acting all stupid with the cake in both her hands in episode 6.
Oh, after she gets
Just that
shot.
one moment. Yeah. And and Homelander's like, Sage has all the details, and she's like holding the cake. It's like, get it together, Sage. He's like, what the hell happened?
Yeah,
uh,
that was really well done. It's yeah, like overall, like this show, like this is I would say arguably the weakest season of the show, but like this is still a show that like from a pure entertainment standpoint knows how to deliver. And like even though I
For
didn't
sure.
get the plot advancement that I was looking for, this is
Mhm.
just fun. It's a lot of fun. The commentary is sharp. It's enjoyable to watch. It's really well made, like the set design and the special effects and stuff. It's you can tell Amazon's put some real money into it, and I just it's a fun show.
I'd still put it over 1, but I think I
I
would
would
put
probably
2
put it
and
over one as
3.
well. I was not like I did not really jump on the boys bandwagon until the second season. I enjoyed the first season for what it was worth. Um, I still think it was quite good. I would probably put this on the same level, but I think from a pure enjoyment standpoint, I think this was maybe a worse season narratively, but a more
Mhm.
enjoyable season just in terms of pure watchability.
And I think
yeah,
that's like a lot of people would have said that. I remember 1 came out and it was really enjoyable and it got good reviews. 2 came out and it's sort of like everything was in place. It entered the Emmys
Yeah.
conversation, best drama nomination, and 3 was uphill from there. That's where I think when
Everything
2 came
everything
out, that was
clicked.
when,
Yeah. Everything clicked in season two, and two and three were two great seasons of
yeah.
television. And then you've got one and four that's still very good, just not on the same level as the second and third.
back to seeing this show from an outside perspective, seeing people respond to this season, especially with Firecracker,
Right?
and
It's like people are just cluing in for the first time and they're like,
yeah,
oh my God, that's what this show's been about. This is the
yeah,
political commentary that they've been alluding to this whole like for me, it's always been very obvious. Like,
Yeah.
this is so
Yeah,
pointed, and it's like you've got this fan base now going like rabid, getting angry, and they're like, "This is too far. What? They're making fun of us." It's like
yeah.
No,
they've
because
always been
season
doing that.
They've
yeah.
always been making fun of the right.
Because season one, you already have a bit of like Homelander Bush comparisons, Vought, Disney. It's always been anti-corporation, anti far right, alt right. Like, I don't know
It just
why now they're picking up on it. Even
it's
like the
because
whole like
it's a little bit less subtle now, and apparently
yeah.
that's enough
Yeah,
for a lot of people to clue
yeah.
in.
I think the Firecracker Alex Jones comparison was the nail in the coffin for them to be like, "What? This is you're making fun of me now."
How do they miss it with all like the Soup Lives Matter in season
They
three, or
missed
like
it.
the way the Homelander supporters are dressed and the whole like shooting someone on Fifth Avenue Trump compare. I don't know, bro. It was always in your face. Like Kripke,
Yeah,
Eric Kripke, the showrunner, is even like openly talking about it in press. Like, yeah, that guy's basically Trump. He's saying it all the time.
And it's like not just like outsiders coming into the show for the first time. It's like you're reading stuff online. They're like, I was a huge fan of the first few seasons, but like now this season just sucks. It's like oh, okay, wow, it took you that long. It took you like 24 episodes or however many there's been. For you're just now this is clicking for you.
exactly. Yeah. Well, Ben, thanks so much for joining, and we'll chat soon.